Hello there, this is Melinda Joy, Crossroads Storyteller here with a hashtag. It's the hashtag Deck FOMO, and it is to tarot and witchery, a response to tarot and witchery. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. Like I've said in my two other VRs, that's not what I showed up on YouTube for. I showed up here to provide tapping emotional freedom technique videos. So if you're into that, go check that out. But let's continue what we're here for. First question is, what triggers FOMO for you? So most often it is when I am especially conscious of a sense of lack, usually an emotional sense of lack, like nothing could make me happy that I currently have, which of course is a really silly story. But yeah, mostly lack consciousness and like feeling graspy for comfort and anything that could ease my discomfort. Yeah, that's when I primarily experience FOMO. Because I can watch YouTube videos, even like unboxings and people talking about all of their decks when I'm not in one of those states of mind, and not get triggered into buying something. But if I feel scarce and am watching something, then I feel like I have to have it now. And then I don't actually get to think about it. And that's a FOMO purchase for you. Second question, what is a FOMO deck purchase you regret? So this is a hard question for me because I don't know that I regret any of my tarot purchases. I think maybe the only tarot deck I regret purchasing is the Aquarian Tarot. I know lots of you love it. I'm so sorry. It's nothing personal. Yeah, I think that's the only one that I'm sort of not pleased with its presence in my life. But that wasn't really a FOMO deck purchase. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer this question with some caveats. I don't regret this purchase. It was a primarily FOMO deck purchase though. And I think this deck is going to get rehomed or perhaps traded because it's sort of valuable. So just for some context, I had just bought Tarot of Magic, which is brilliant and beautiful, and I absolutely adore it. And then I heard people talking about the same creator makes several Kabbalistic decks, and this was one of them. And I looked online, and of course, you know, Etsy is like, there's only 2 left and 20 people have it in their cart. And I was like, oh no. And so I got the deck. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's super, super beautiful. Anyone interested in Hermetic Kabbalah or just Kabbalah or just the Tree of Life would be into it. And I am into it, except I'm not gonna use it. I got the one deck I needed from the creator and I absolutely love it and it meets all of my needs. And I have no other needs for this deck to meet. So I think I'll probably trade it or something like that at some point for one of those other decks that I really want that are harder to find or whatever. We'll see how it goes. If you're really into this deck and you want it and you're having trouble finding it and you have some pretty cool decks that you want to trade, maybe let me know. Number 3, how do I set limits? Okay, so the last eclipse season, I had a Mo where I bought more decks than I thought was reasonable within a short period of time. And so I created an additional limit for myself. So I'll share what the initial limits were and what my newest one is. So usually my first rule is I don't buy a deck just because it's beautiful, because there are so many beautiful decks out there. So just because it's pretty, it doesn't get put on the list. So some of the things that some qualities that would make it a possibility for entering my collection is if it has an especially decolonial or like rewilding or like bucking the system kind of undercurrent, or, you know, just like becoming one's most authentic self in spite of the system. No need to like do any bucking. That's a buck in itself. Okay. Hermetic Kabbalah decks. I'm really into any historical significance in the Hermetic Kabbalah tradition, as well as people currently who are riffing off of Hermetic Kabbalah systems or decks, etc. Religious history decks. I studied biblical studies in college, and I'm super fond of all of the Paleolithic goddess goodness and all of the ways that goodness has survived throughout time. And so anything playing with that, like, I don't know. I'm sure if you peruse my channel, you'll find some decks of that nature. And then part of the reason why I collect tarot decks are to support independent artists. So if their deck is created by an independent artist and me purchasing the deck will help them in some aspect of their life, that is also a big pro in my book. So those are some of the sort of mental like sifting I do when I'm looking at a deck. And then my most recent limit is that I'm not allowed to buy a deck until whatever deck I last purchased has gotten to me. So no, because one of the things was I would buy a deck and it would be one of those decks that would come from really far away. And so it would take a little extra time to get to me. And I'd be like, you know what I could do to like ease the tension of waiting for this deck is I could buy another deck that's going to come to me sooner. And then I'll end up with more decks and I won't have to wait, right? So yes, that's how we are addressing that. Question number 4. How many decks do you have? Somewhere between like 80 and 100. I'm not really sure. Last time I checked, it was in the 70s, and I'm pretty sure I've bought probably 20 decks since I last counted, but I'm not like actually keeping a tally. And that's everything, right? All the duplicates, all the Oracle decks, all the things. Question number 5. How many decks do you need? All capital letters, NEED. The answer is none. I really appreciated Wendy's response to this question, and so I'm going to riff off of that. And the answer is that everything I am currently doing with tarot that everything I'm currently doing with tarot before I had tarot as a tool, I was doing those things. I was using other mediums that were accessible to me. For example, I used to just like study fairy tales and dissect the living daylights out of them. And that was how I sorted out what was going on for me in my life and what choices I had available for me. So I don't actually need decks to get to know myself or to make choices that resonate with my true nature. But I really, 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 really enjoy decks. So there's that. Number 6. What is a positive deck purchase from FOMO? That is Tierra May's Ritual Tarot. And this was one of those decks where I saw on Instagram and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a gorgeous deck, but I don't buy decks just because they're beautiful. And so I put it out of my mind, like I do with most beautiful decks, because there's a bajillion out there. And then Catomancy Tarot was showing it on her channel, and I am a lover of Janaki and all the things that she's doing in the world and with her studies. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll look a little closer. And I saw that Anna, Astral Lady, was really into it. And I know Astral Lady Anna is also, I like using this as like a signifier card. I know she's into the Hermetic Kabbalah goodness. And so, oh, right. And then she said that Tierra May was maybe going to explore putting titles on a future edition. And I was like, hold the phone. I need the deck without the any words. I need it as is. So if I gotta get it now to get it that way, I'm gonna get it now. And so I did. And then I got it, and oh, not only does it tick my Hermetic Kabbalah notch, it also ticks off the religious history piece that makes me feel like I've gotten a deck that's actually meeting my needs, and I'm supporting an independent artist. So yeah, it was like only the best FOMO deck purchase ever. Question number 7. What are your thoughts on the current state of deck FOMO in our community? I think it is consistent with the inherent wound found in every single entity living within capitalism. I think the system we live and breathe and swim in is designed to make us feel the scarcity and lack I mentioned at the beginning. And I think it lives through all of us really differently. And I think we all work to tend that wound differently. And I think sometimes, on occasion, when it's done intentionally and thoughtfully, buying a tarot deck can be a supportive way to tend that wound. And it most definitely is not always, because probably a majority of the time, the wound can't get healed with a thing. And that's the trap of capitalism, right? Is that capitalism is trying to convince us that we can fix the wound with a thing, but we can't. So we keep buying more things. And that's what keeps capitalism running. So yeah, I think it's just a symptom of the larger systemic problem. And yeah, I definitely have struggled with these kinds of questions in my tarot collecting experience, so I really appreciated the direct hashtag addressing some of these things, and I so appreciate the opportunity to contribute to the conversation. So many blessings.